My name is Keith Richardson. I'm the president of Arizona Fireplaces and AF Distributors. We are a family-ran business. My mom and dad started this company in 1980, selling fasteners, hangers, nails into the framers and contractors building homes back in the early 80s. My dad, being the entrepreneur he is, he segued, saw an opportunity with fireplaces, a void in the market, and so he capitalized on it, and the rest is history. Of course, fireplaces now are much different than they were then, with all the different technology, all the different styles. And so we pride ourselves as being what I like to call fireplace nerds of Arizona. Even though it's 110 out, we still feel like fireplaces are the cornerstone of the house. It's where memories are made. It's where holidays are celebrated. And we feel like it's a very important aspect into anyone's home. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our company, and then I'm going to turn it over to Brad, and then introduce Bill and Christine with Mason-Lite. So just give you guys a good idea of our company. We're a little bit more than just Arizona Fireplaces. Like I mentioned, AF Distributors is a two-step distributor where we supply fireplaces, heaters, barbecues throughout the Southwest United States to all the brick and mortar fireplace dealers. We also have a company called Modern Flames that my brother started in 2009. He's a whole lot smarter than I am. He was the first one to bring the linear electric fireplace to North America. So he's a very talented young guy who started a very successful electric fireplace business. Grand Canyon Gas Logs is another company of ours, which is not just gas logs, but spheres, contemporary fiberglass that goes into fireplaces, like what Bill is going to be talking about, and Christine when he comes up here. A company that has no relation to the fireplace world is AF Steel Fab. We do structural steel. We built the Red Bull facility out in the West Valley. We do a lot of the Amazon distribution facilities. We do all the structural steel and the joists and decking, and that's a company that my dad runs. So Bill and Christine with Mason-Lite, these guys are awesome. The product, I think we have a video. If you guys could throw on that video for everyone. It's an open face modular masonry fireplace. It's very clean. It's very desirable, especially in this market. You could tell we call it like a frameless fireplace, where it's absolutely beautiful. There's no glass on it, and it's an absolute pleasure to have these guys here and presenting. But before we do start the class, I want to introduce you guys to Brad Humphreys with the iconic Roger Klein's Cancion Tequila, and I believe you're going to make us a cocktail. Is that right?
I am. I'm going to make you guys a cocktail tonight. We're going to talk about the Cancion Tequila and the different marks that are out there and the different flavors, and we're going to do that a little later tonight. So if you don't know, Roger Klein of Roger Klein and the Peacemakers, he's the lead singer for the band. He's been doing music for more than 30 years out of Tempe, Arizona, and he is the lead man for Arizona's house band. He is also the owner of Cancion Tequila, which used to be known as Mexican Moonshine. So Mexican Moonshine was actually a song he wrote in 2004, and he's like, I'm going to name my tequila that. But when all the moonshine products started coming out in the market, it got a little confusing. So instead of calling his tequila Mexican Moonshine, it's now Cancion, which is Spanish for song. I work for the two greatest people here. I work for Roger and his wife, Elisa Klein. They're fantastic people. It's a great product, Arizona owned, distributed around the United States and in Mexico. We have almost 400 locations in Arizona that distribute our tequila, either restaurants, liquor stores, and so we're going to talk about that a little bit later. The Cancion Tequila, the silver, is double distilled, triple filtered. It goes right into a holding tank and then right into the bottle, so there's no resting. The Reposado is rested for 9 months in Kentucky bourbon barrels. So this is closer to a truer tequila that you're used to. This is clean and crisp. You could put this in a margarita, a Paloma, soda water, and 2 limes, almost like a seltzer. This goes great in a margarita. And now we're talking about the Añejo. This is rested for 18 months in Kentucky bourbon barrels. You can see the color has changed, but nothing's been added to it. It's just resting in a barrel. This is fantastic. It starts to take on a more bourbony hue, and it's great for sipping. and a line we just came out with about 6 years ago and then reintroduced into the market is the Extra Añejo. Super awesome sipping tequila. You don't need salt, you don't need lime, and we're going to try some tonight and have some fun with it. So thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. So.
Thank you, Brad. All right, so I want to introduce Bill and Christine, but before they come up here, they've been in the industry for a long time, Bill in particular, and they are absolutely, two wonderful people. When we pick the people who we do business with, products are one thing, but who they are as human beings and in person is another, and there is no one better than these two. So let's put our hands together and welcome Bill and Christine up here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Keith.
Good evening, and thank you, Keith, and thank you, Arizona Fireplace, for allowing us to be here and talk about Mason-Lite fireplaces. And for those of you that don't know what a Mason-Lite fireplace is, it's a modular masonry fireplace. And a quick background of my background, I've been in the fireplace industry for 40 years. My dad's been in it for 65 years. Started out in Long Beach, California, making precast concrete tilt-up fireplaces. And a lot of tract builders back in the 60s and 70s used them, and until metal fireplaces kind of cut into that business. You can imagine, when you put in 10,000 pounds of concrete into a tilt-up fireplace, that's a lot of material up against a metal fireplace. So we started a company called FMI making metal fireplaces. I ran that for 20 years until we sold it, and then we moved on to Mason-Lite. And we recognized that people still like to have that open fire. But Arizona Fireplace offers everything that you need for fireplaces, from obviously the Mason-Lite to the direct vent fireplaces to vent-free, I mean, you name it, stoves for the mountains and so on. So we're just one little niche part of their business. And modular makes it easy to put it indoors, outdoors, in any contemporary style or traditional fireplace, and we do a lot of custom type units too. But they go together in about, and we'll go through the slides a little bit, but we'll talk about the time is money, and it takes about 2.5 hours, 2 to 3 hours to put one of these together, compared to a masonry hand-built fireplace takes 2 to 3 days. So there's some time savings there, plus it's about half the weight, and we figure about half the cost of doing Mason-Lite. So without further ado, we'll go through the slide presentation. This is our AIA health and safety presentation. Actually, Christine put it together for me. She's done a lot of these on the Zoom calls over the last 15 months or so. But I'm going to kind of go along with it and hopefully get through this all right. But Christine's going to turn these pages for me. And the actual, I want to tell you, when we started into this business, and I've worked with Arizona Fireplace for probably at least 35 years. So I know Don, Keith, Chris, and Debbie, and the whole family. And they are good friends. But they were our first customers too. When we started Mason-Lite, we knew that Arizona was where we needed to be first. California, we needed to do seismic testing because of all the earthquakes and all that. And that's what takes me to the field constructed fireplace system. We actually knew that we'd have to have testing done on these, obviously UL 127, and we'll talk about that a little bit in there. But ICC, which used to be ICBO, but it's an International Conference of Building Officials, they needed to have it, all the data, and if you get that in their hands, it goes into the hands in the computer for all their building officials. So we knew that was the Bible. So we actually spent the money to develop the AC 375, and we spent all the money and really made it a product to be recognized. Our competition has since then done all that, followed in our footsteps to be listed as AC 375. So just wanted to kind of mention that. That's what we bring to the table. We do try to improve our products as much as possible, be a leader in the industry. So we just a quick statement here that we are a provider, and this is through AIA. We are certified to do this for architects, and we do this around the country for them. And actually, that's a lot of what Christine, and we have Joey Haddocks down in Dallas, Texas, who does this as well. The learning objectives for this health and safety are the material components, modular prefabricated versus site-built, which I mentioned before, health and safety and welfare qualifications, and construction specifications and design options. Those are the bullets that we're going to go through this afternoon. Why pumice? Now, pumice we've chosen is a lighter weight option, but the best part of it is it's pre-fired, coming out of volcanoes. We actually get pumice from local pumice out of Arizona and California, and it's a product that is being pre-fired. It puts up with the heat really well compared to a hand-built fireplace might have CMU block in it or so on, but that just has regular sand and gravel in it. This has all the characteristics of the pumice to make it a lightweight product. Anything that's under 110 pounds cubic weight is considered lightweight. Ours is about 80 pounds per cubic feet. Proven, tested, and listed. We just talked about all the testing we've been through, the AC375, the UL127. We do gas, which is 95% of what we sell gets gas logs put into them. Grand Canyon Gas Logs is one of our suppliers as well. So we do gas listing is through the ANSI Z2150 standard as well. Industry leading listings, UL listed, NFPA certified. Well, that's how you build a basic fireplace. As NFPA 211 is the code. PFS is our testing agency. NFI is our trade industry testing organization or listing organization, and how to put them together. I mentioned ICCES. They do all the evaluation services for us. So all this product is, we want it to go in safely, make sure all the clearances are proper out there, and we're burning fire in people's homes, so they gotta be done right. Just kind of, this is for those of you that haven't seen a Mason-Lite, it is made up of 24 parts and pieces on our standard products that basically fit together like a Lego system and put together with mortar. So they're modular, ease of assembly. I mentioned 2 to 3 hours to put it together. They can go on a second floor. Obviously, a lot of them go on just a concrete floor, but they can be put on a wood floor. And when that's done, it has to be done safely on a 6 to 8 inch airspace on a metal base. This is for the wood burners. For gas burners, we are listed to go with smaller clearances and so on. We have flexibility of the design, and that's where we get into our custom units. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Every unit that we sell comes with a bucket or two, depending on the size of the unit, of our high temperature mortar. And it's an included, it's not an extra that you have to buy, because everyone does need the mortar, put that unit together. So it's unfortunately our competition, they make it a la carte, and you have to buy that extra, and we include everything you need. I talked about the UL127 safety test, and I've been being in the industry for 40 years. I've probably witnessed at least 50 of these safety tests, and there's a lot that goes into them. I mean, you can't be within 12 feet in front of this thing, because the radiant heat coming out, that room is over 100 degrees, and we're putting it through the worst test that you can probably get through. We talked about the lightweight concrete pumice materials, the multiple installation applications and options. We do a lot of, I mentioned custom. We can do the basic front opening. That's our standard units. We've come up in the last 3 years with nice linear products for the contemporary style homes, which has really taken off, especially here in Arizona. We also can do 3-sided fireplaces, bay fireplaces, 2-sided see-through fireplaces, anything that architects are great on coming up with different ideas. So we get tested all the time by architects on how to do things. We talked about the installation time. It does meet seismic code. The AC 156 is part of the code that we tested to. We had to put it on a shaker test and try to shake the unit apart. So it can withstand at least a 7 or 8 seismic event. And in California, they have to be installed per the seismic code. A big thing on the job site is a lot of builders don't want to have a mess of having a hand-built fireplace put together brick by brick. They have to dump a truck of sand out front in the driveway, and the masons are going to be there for a week or two, depending on their finishes and all that. But a lot of cutting going on, a lot of dust. Our product is made, comes in a crate, it gets uncrated on the job, and in the custom units we number all the pieces so they get together properly, and we send a picture of what that custom unit looks like, so there's no guessing on what goes together. But the standard units, again, I mentioned they go together in 2 to 3 hours, and no mess on the job. The mortar's done in a bucket right next to the unit, and you've got a finished unit within 3 hours. So that's a big part of the masonry fireplace and what makes it unique. We talked about the testing and all that. We do have a limited lifetime warranty. We stand behind that product as long as that house is going to be built. I mean, it's durable when it's put together. As long as it's all the clearances are right and done to our installation instructions, we stand behind it all the time. We've talked about half the weight, installed on wood floors, less install time, seismic area approved. Consistent operation, you think about our product, and we make it in a block machine, and we use dies that the tolerances are 1/100th of an inch. So it's really tight specifications. Our fit and finish is second to none. But when you put these together, they're always together the same way, and they're gonna burn well all the time. I mean, obviously every house is different. They have different venting systems and all that, but they're gonna draw real well. When you have a masonry hand-built fireplace, you don't know who's gonna show up on the job to do it, and it's usually not the lead guy every day. It might be a junior foreman, and you don't know if, maybe the guy had a hangover from the night before. So that fireplace, once it's built, it's going to be there for a long time, and if it's built not to draw properly, you've got a problem. You can't go back and fix it unless you tear it down. So every one of ours goes together the same way, and that's the consistent operation we talked about. All code approved. And and that's a big part of the reason we got into this is because we're losing a lot of the skilled masons around the country, and we sell throughout the United States. And I've learned a lot from masons when we put this together. We're selling this to a lot of masons because, number one, they're tired of being on their hands and knees and cutting the blocks and doing all that, and they know they can sell more of this product and make more money on it. So they get it. But the biggest thing is that we've lost a lot of that skilled mason. They're not making the hand build as much anymore. And again, the price is very high up there. Factory staff, I mean, this is part of the education is that they have the proper hygiene, protective eyewear, gloves, ear protection, mask. It's all important, and this we can't just set that aside thinking people will do that on their own. It's important that when you're around cement products that if you're going to use a saw, you're going to have dust, wear mask for the dust protection, for ears. I mean, we want everybody to be safe when they're putting these products together. Steel-toed shoes. I mean, everybody gets it, but it's important that we mention it. When you're lifting things, I mean, I've been in manufacturing now for 40 years, and we have to constantly tell people how to properly lift. I mean, we do give guys their back support, but to lift with your knees, not your back. I mean, that's so important in anything that you do. And then again, we really stress cleanliness in our factory, and around the workspace is always important. So there's no tripping hazards. You know, your shoes are tied. But in our factory, we make sure that after every day our floors are cleaned, everything's put away, all the tools are put away, and it just makes for a good, clean, organized space. I mentioned clearances before, and every one of our fireplaces is fairly standard. Or wood burners, you always have to have 2-inch clearance on the sides and back to combustibles, which obviously is mainly wood. We made it 2 inches because it's an easy number. We have competitors where it's 1 3/4 inches, 1.5 inches, but we figured 2 inches. You need it 2 inches for the metal chimney that our product is installed with. So 2 inches just makes a lot of sense. When our fireplaces are set on a wood floor, we need from 4 or 6 to 8 inches, depending on the model. The see-through and the 63 and the 75 need a little bit more airspace. They need 8 inches. So it's really important that you follow the instructions in our instruction manual to make sure they're put in correctly. Rooftop clearances with wood burners, this is important to know. They call it the 210 rule, where you go 2 foot above 10 feet away from where your chimney comes through the roof. So it's just, and architects draw that in the plans, but when you're figuring a wood burning fireplace, the 210 rule is important. We get to gas, you follow the gas code, which is I think you have to have at least 3 foot outside the roof. Mantle clearances, this is all in our instruction manual, and it shows for safe installation of a wood mantle. And we're getting less and less of those because a lot of people are using stone and steel and a lot of more contemporary looks. But the wood is the one thing we're really concerned about. Any stone, it really doesn't matter what you do on mantles for non-combustible, but combustibles, it's really important. We don't want to have any problems with the wood over time, because it may not take a month, it may not take 5 years, it could be 10 years, but if you have that wood too far out or too far close to that opening, you could have a problem. So it's important you look at our manual for that. Lintel clearances for custom fireplaces. We have multiple lintels, and as we mentioned here, we don't supply the angle irons on our custom units. Our standard units do come with lintels, and we call it T-bar or angle iron to support that lintel. But again, clearances are really important, that you keep that 2 inches away on all wood burning products. Okay, and I just want to add too, I know we're in Phoenix, but this is being talked about in Arizona. Arizona doesn't allow wood burning, but what we do install is wood burning fireplaces with gas logs in them. So we still like to have our fireplaces set up as if they're going to burn wood, because you don't know if somebody that buys this house 10 years from now could say, hey, we got a wood burning fireplace. Let's take these gas logs out and burn wood. So we want to be safe, and I know an Arizona Fireplace does that too. Make sure that these are all proper clearances and all that. So I wanted to add that in. I think it's important. Framing specifications, and our manual goes on for 50-some pages. And we really try to drill in the fact that the clearances to combustibles are so important. And that's what these framing specs are all about. And we do lay out the hearth extensions on the front, where those need to be. And again, this is on all wood burning fireplaces. So it really is important to take a look at where this fireplace is going to be built, and where your headers are put, so that we can make sure that we have that 2-inch clearance to all the combustibles. This is a new addition for us. About 3 years ago, we decided we've sold our fireplaces as linears, but we really wanted to make a full line of linear products. And We have our basic linears that they're tested at the ANSI Z2150 standards, the gas code, and we build them from 48 inches to 120 inches. And I don't even know, the biggest one we've done is like 220 inch.
We did a 30
footer. So we've done some pretty crazy stuff. And I know hotels do that, but that 30 footer was in a home in Palm Desert, believe it or not. But it was a nice fireplace. That was one of the first linears that we did, probably close to 8, 9 years ago.
And that was actually 17 feet were indoors and 13 feet were outdoors, and it was separated by ceramic glass. So if you guys can dream it, we can do it.
That's right. So we got a piece of literature, and now linears are a huge part of our business, probably at least 30% of our business now, because contemporary is really taking a hold, and it's fun to see. Chimney specs, we do, everything we did is with metal Class A chimney for the most part. That's how we started out. And we actually are we're tested to the UL 103 standard for chimney, and we also, it's a Class A certification. We also are tested to we call it FMI, but it's a IHP brand chimney. We are also tested to, well, it's just about any Class A chimney that's made. Well, I should say any Class A chimney made we can do. Canadian, we're not yet at that point. We're just, Christine has gotten a few Canadian accounts, but we need to start doing some testing with Canadian chimney, which is a packed chimney due to their climate, and it's important that we get all those listings done. But we do, I want to just add that we do masonry chimney. When we got into this business 15 years ago, we thought it was all going to be metal chimney, but when we got in the South, it was a lot of masonry chimney. The masons like doing masonry, and actually Don and Roger Ferraro works for them. They kind of sat me down and told me, you need to do some masonry chimney if you're going to be in this business. So we now make a lot of masonry chimney. Fire stops are an important part of again, getting that 2-inch clearance to combustibles on metal chimney. So this is just kind of a schematic on what a fire stop looks like, that it should be put up inside the joist and attached with the number 8 screws, 3x4 or 3/4 inch screws. So it's, again, it's all in the instruction manual, and it's really specific. This is what the inspectors are looking for. They need to have no gaps. They want a true fire stop in place.
And every penetration needs a fire stop.
Correct. We also handle cast iron dampers. Metal dampers are more common than the cast iron, but when we sell them in Georgia, Texas, Louisiana, they still are kind of old school, like that cast iron look. And so we sell a lot of Vestal cast iron. Unfortunately, that's a dying part of the business, and I think they're the only ones left in the business, and they probably don't mind getting a little, name recognition there, but they do a good job, and I'm glad they're still in business, because we do buy a lot of that product. But the metal is probably, again, 85–90% of the dampers that are being installed out there. Outside air kit is something that we actually don't test in the unit, because when you do a UL test, they test at the most extreme, the worst conditions that you could put on that fireplace. And actually outside air helps burn that fire a lot better. So we encourage our distributors to install an outside air kit, especially we're making homes as tightly as we are now, with a lot of insulation, weather stripping, and all that, to either keep the hot air from coming in or the cold air from coming in. So we recommend that. When the fireplace is in the middle of the house, it's really tough to bring in that outside air, because anytime you're running that duct more than 15 feet, it really becomes inefficient and it doesn't really work. But when you're on an outside wall, it's easy enough to just throw it on there, and we supply those as well. I talked about the 6 to 8 inch airspace that we need. Air is the best insulator we've got. People have asked me if we poured a piece of concrete over the wood floor, would that be sufficient? And I said no, because the heat actually radiates through that concrete. Air is the best insulator, and that's why we have this metal base system that we use. You can also use CMU block as well. For the seismic situation, we like to have the metal base. It actually ties into the foundation or footing of the project. And this kind of shows the rebar coming up through the floor and tying into the metal base, and then our fireplace. We have cells in the sides and the back that slide over that rebar, and then they are some ready mixes poured into the cells to make it a solid system.
I'm going to skip over that because you just covered it.
That's fine. Yeah, it's all in the instructions. I mentioned earlier the masonry chimney, and this is what it looks like. It's a two-piece. It's got an inner is the octagonal part that's in the middle, and it sets inside the square chimney, masonry chimney, and we're doing some testing on zero clearance. We've done it before, but we still like to have any kind of clearance we can have on that. It's a product that can be used indoor, outdoors, and I think the tallest one we've done with that is like 40 feet, and that was incredible to see that. It was freestanding, and it was a little scary because I thought, man, hope an earthquake doesn't come around with that. But I say that, but California, you cannot install masonry chimney there. It was actually down in Louisiana, and it was quite a feat to see. We also do the clay pots, and they're decorative clay pots that people like to finish their homes off with. And we do work with a lot of designers, because when it comes to finishing up the focal point of that room, the color of the brick is important, and the design of the brick, whether it's a herringbone or a running bond or just maybe even subway design. There's so many different designs. I don't even know how many. I mean, I can count probably at least 10 or 12 that I've seen, and I keep getting surprised with what a good mason can do. We do. I'm going to talk a little Mason-Lite, I guess, commercial here, but we're the only ones that do masonry fire brick panels, and it makes it easy to go in. A mason can hand lay a fire brick hearth, and it takes them 4 to 5 hours, depending on whether it's a running bond or herringbone. Our panels can be put in about 20 to 30 minutes. And Arizona Fireplace has designed panels similar to this, and they're doing really well with it. So I think it's a designer's, designers love that kind of stuff, especially when you have different colors to meet whatever the homeowner's looking for. And again, it's what people are looking for. It's the warmth of the house. It's where the family meets, reads, watches TV. So I guess it goes back to the caveman days when we had fire, and we're all, that's, I think, the thing that keeps us going. That's one reason why, Arizona Fireplace has been so successful to sell heat in the desert. I mean, who does that? So we just have a couple slides here that just showing you what our traditional standard fireplaces look like. And second to Arizona, I think Montana is one of our biggest markets because of a lot of traditional wood burning style fireplaces. And here it's all more contemporary style. We're just showing the different designs, and we can do some custom, like bishop arches, things like that. So there's a lot of things you can do with our product. Talked about the linear, and that's huge. Two-sided fireplace, we sell a lot of those, and our standard one is 40 inches wide. We've made them up to 10 feet, and they do take a lot of chimneys on them to make sure they draw properly. Custom, like a right-handed open fireplace, three-sided. And you see the metal on there. That's a lot of new contemporary fireplaces are getting some metal on the front. I kind of like that look. Four-sided. I think this was in Colorado. Just a quick shot of some indoor applications, and then outdoor is a huge part of our business. And we do have a pizza oven, and I'm learning how to make pizza. I can't make it as good as that one is. That looked pretty good. Safety data sheets. These are all online on our website, and we talk all about the, everything you need for you talk about the medium duty fire brick, where everything that we put in has to be a split fire brick. It has to be 1.25 inch standard. So we have all the safety data sheets that's required for the U.S. And that's the end of it, and we appreciate you being here. Any questions?
I think we're going to do.
Is it 2 to 3 hours to build? Is that like a 2-person crew, 3-person crew? Just curious on how many people it takes.
That's a good question. It's one. Believe it or not, I've seen one person do it in about 3 hours, and I've done it myself. I did it my own home, and it was not the right thing to do, because we suggest 2 people, because that last piece is probably 100 pounds, and it's when you're lifting something over your shoulders, you want to have help doing that. That was the hardest piece for me to get up, believe me. But good question, thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
On the linear fireplaces, us as
Right.
designers, okay, what are the do's and don'ts?
We do get that a lot, and the biggest problem is if you're putting a wooden mantle over it, is to make sure you have enough room, because the linear fireplace, especially if you're talking linear, a lot of people like to have it at least 18 inches off the floor, because I think it looks good there. And then you have about 22 inches of opening, and then you need at least another 12 to get up to put your mantle. And then your TV, it can be inset a little bit, which helps. And if it's behind that mantle, it'll keep that heat from ruining. That fireplace will cause a TV to suffer like a half-life. I mean, that heat can ruin them. Now, I've not actually seen it happen. I've done it in my own house a few times. I put one outdoors and had many fires and not had TV melt or even malfunction. But I know that it can't hurt. I mean, it's going to hurt it. That heat doesn't help. But I just laid out a friend of mine's house, and it really depends on where in the living room or wherever you're going to watch the TV, how far back from, and you know how to set the TV up, because you don't want it too high, obviously. So if you run into that situation, I know Christine and I and Jake in our office can help you work that out, because it's really important. That's a big layout situation. But hopefully I answered your question.
Don has something to say about that too.
Have a mantle, and you want to have just a straight up, then a recess for the TV. Is that what's recommended? And is there a certain height above the opening that's kind of a minimum, or?
Well, Don, as you know, on our fireplaces, we do have a 4-inch like shelf on the front, so you can inset that fireplace a little bit. And luckily, they're making TVs so thin now. They're like 3.5, 4 inches thick, so that you can inset it, and they have these, these arms that bring the TVs out or tuck them back in. So you can kind of tuck them into a little niche that will protect it. And if it doesn't have a mantle, that heat will come up there and come along that TV, and could be a problem. But I'd say at least 12 inches above it's going to definitely help before you put that TV in. It's a tricky deal. It's almost like you have to, hope that works. Because there's some manufacturers I know with direct vents, they tell you not to put a TV up there, but those really generate a lot of heat, direct vents. Yeah, Roger just brought up a good point, and we had a slide on that, and it's in our instructions, and it shows where you start at 12 inches. That shelf may only be out 3.5 inches, and then it graduates out to. Then you're up at 22 inches before you can come to 10 inches out or something like that. But that's a good point. It depends on what your mantle looks like and how far out you want it. So as a design item, think about that, and hopefully you can use stone or something like that, because combustible wood mantles do create a problem with that. We just want it to be safe.
Looks like wood, but it's all concrete mantle. Lower because it's non-combustible, and then it
So for those of you who couldn't hear him, we have a lot of sales staff here and technical experts, and so we could, obviously we do a lot of TVs above fireplaces, and so there's a couple of tricks of the trade, like Bill mentioned, with the modular masonry fireplaces, and there's also a lot of other products that you could have some heat that actually shifts up and out above the fireplace, and also some options where you could take the heat outside, and even on some of your products where they're power vented. You power vent a lot of the heat outside where it's very minimal radiant heat, which isn't going to jeopardize the TV. But just in summary, for those who are joining us virtually, I would always consult an expert like us. But as far as you guys that are designing, if you have an open face wood burning fireplace with gas logs, it's good to have a mantle and then recess that TV so the heat rolls up the front of the TV and not back behind it. Is Bill going to guarantee that TV in his instruction manual? Absolutely not, but we've been very successful in doing that.
Right. Thank you. Appreciate that. Anything else? Well, thank you for your time, and obviously, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate
you,
you
Bill.
having us there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Keith.
All right, Jackie's going to come up here. We got a little giveaway, which I'm not sure what's in there, so I'm going to have her explain that real quick. But we're going to pass the bag around and throw your name tags in the bag. I did see a couple bottles of tequila in there, so.
There is a bottle of tequila in here. There's a bottle of tequila in here, and there's a CD from Roger Klein and the Peacemakers, and there's some sweet little tasting glasses. So,
Awesome. So.
and then I think. Sorry, you're not eligible. Once we get it all collected, then Bill, I think you should draw, or Christine. Do you
I think
want
we
to?
should have Christine come on up
Make
here.
sure this doesn't, maybe two, like under. We don't want to have a tequila catastrophe. Did we get everyone? All right. Go right ahead.
And the winner is Helen Kerr.
All right. Yes.
There's some Zoom questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me just.
So I think we got a couple Zoom questions that we'll try and answer. I think we should quiz all you guys on some of the damper and technical aspects that Bill went through. I think I learned something today.
We have Zoom questions.
Yep.
Do you want to do the questions?
Yeah, you want to read it to me? And
Is she giving them to?
I'm happy to answer them, but I don't know what they are.
Hey,
If
hold
I
your
can.
forehead. Maybe it'll come through.
Thank you. Let's see if she.
So this is Jackie. She does our marketing. She
Hi,
put
not a very
on the
good
event
job,
tonight.
but-
She's wonderful.
Thank you. Nothing yet. All right, we're gonna give them like 1 more minute. Anything on your
We're waiting for. Well, while we're waiting, I'll just briefly just touch on some of the stuff that you might be wondering as far as the TVs. I know we mentioned, but heat management is a big trend right now, and then the color of different internal fireplaces. So on the electric fireplaces, we had a couple restaurants that had a problem where they said, well, I want the warmth of the fire during the winter, but for my patrons that come in the summer, that's not a good feeling of that warm fire. So that drove some of the electric fireplace manufacturers to change the flame color to blue, which at first we thought that's super weird. That's not normal. But we have so now we have electric fireplaces that you could transition from orange in the winter months, and then during the summer it could go to blue, which I think is kind of an interesting thing as you guys are designing different elements, because you think about frequenting in some kind of restaurant. If it's like it is today, very hot, you get that warm feeling. You don't really want to hang out very long, and restaurants obviously want you to hang out as long as possible.
Zoom questions are, when you add so many open sides, does the flue need to get larger since the total opening size is increased?
Absolutely. So, and that's all calculated. So I'm not going to, so how to answer that question is yes. So depending on and Bill might be able to answer that better than I will.
One thing that we like to, and we look at every custom unit and size the fireplace with the proper chimney. And any multi-sided units, 3-sided, 2-sided, corner units, we really recommend using a fan to help assist that up there, especially the taller opening you get, and see-throughs for sure, because a lot of times when you have a see-through, it's between two different rooms. It's essentially a room divider. When you open a door in one room, it affects the draft, and it actually will blow or pull that flame one way or the other, causing I say wood burning is the worst because, and luckily in Arizona we're not allowed to install wood burning anymore. But even gas, you could, if you had a tall enough opening, it could pull that flame out, and you get a little carbon monoxide, which we don't want to do. We want to have 100% of that flue gas go up the chimney. So we encourage and highly recommend that an exhaust fan be installed. So if that, multi-sided is just, we really recommend a fan. Hopefully that helps. But they are sized appropriately to the opening size.
Our second question is, what is the lead time on this product?
On standard units, we are, and I'm not speaking for Arizona Fireplace, but for Mason-Lite, we're 3 to 5 days on standard products. Custom units, we're out about 3 weeks.
And we have a tremendous amount of inventory as well. We have 7 warehouses down south of Sky Harbor Airport. I saw a Mason-Lite truck show up today, and we stock a fair amount of inventory. And so even though I know supply, it's not that we're perfect when it comes to inventory, but we are better than most. We have a pretty large purchasing department, and the manufacturer lead times, we take those lead times, we take our projections, and we order appropriately. But we are a stocking distributor, so we stock a tremendous amount of inventory. So it should be, throughout the building process, as long as it's not late, we should be able to deliver within a few weeks, depending on the product, if it's a standard unit or a custom unit. Absolutely. Yeah, we are. So a lot of the products that we deal with, they're sold out the rest of the year, mostly on the barbecue, but there's some gas log sets. So right now we are trying to get, we have a tremendous amount on order, and we're 6 months out, but we've planned correctly. Not that we're going to be perfect by any means, but we have some very smart people, a lot smarter than I am, in positions that are all analytical driven. So I think the hard part for us, the lead times, is going to be probably the installation and our technical service department, which is going to be a little bit challenging because we only have, I think, 8 or 9 service techs available. So I know I'm saying that we're going to have it, but we are, we're planning. Right now we have everything on order stuff that we've had on order, we're not expecting this year, we're expecting into next year, and we feel very comfortable with the amount that we have on order currently. Yes, so a ventless fireplace, it's a fireplace that is not vented. So what that means, to kind of elaborate on that, is you don't have these big chimneys going up. You don't need to penetrate the roof, where it just vents out in the room. So the question is that safe? It is safe because there's something called an ODS, which is an oxygen depletion sensor on there, but it burns very efficiently to kind of simplify it. It burns almost as efficiently as a candle, so it doesn't pose any risk. It doesn't. It's not dangerous. The pros of a ventless fireplace is that you don't need vent. You don't need any venting. You don't need to go through the roof. All you need is gas and electric. The con, especially in this market, is all that heat is coming right out into the room. So depending on the application, just needs to, I would consult one of us or make sure that the vent-free fireplace is appropriate. On the outdoor side, we think they're wonderful because you have the HOA requirements that you can't have a huge vent run going up. And the ventless fireplaces that are outdoor are wonderful and super convenient. You frame it in, you run electrical, you run gas. So I think hopefully that answers that question.
You know what, if I could add too, that you can only burn a maximum of 40,000 BTUs. So, the flame isn't going to be as substantial as a vented set, which a vented set could get up to, 80 to 120, or depending on the size, obviously. So that would, might be something to consider when you're looking at vent-free. But I used to manufacture vent-free appliances, my old business, and I wasn't a believer in it until I actually put one in my office and had it in there for about a year. And I think it's a good, clean way to heat your house. Again, it does throw out a lot of heat.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to think about.
All right.
Okay, one more. When you added too many open sides, does the flue need to get larger since the total opening size?
Yeah, I think we covered that one. The question is when the openings of the fireplaces, when they get larger, multiple sides, if there needs to be a larger diameter vent run, and kind of the answer is absolutely. And then we recommend a vent system that Bill mentioned, where it literally pulls the exhaust out to keep that draft, because you don't want the carbon monoxide spilling in the room. So that's a calculated. That we have Enervex. Typically with the stuff that we do, we have Enervex, which is a power vent system. They make sure that it's engineered and to specs. So there's nothing that we're not guessing by any means. It's all
In fact, just to give you an idea on our linear product, from our 48-inch up to our 72-inch, we require just one 12-inch B-vented chimney. When you get over that, I think actually from the 96-inch over, then it's dual 12-inch chimney. So we've doubled the chimney at that point. So we make sure there's adequate venting for, every fireplace we produce.
Oh, we got one more.
So I was reading through this, and there are codes, I guess city codes that you have to comply with. Does it require a permit to add a fireplace?
So the question is adding a fireplace, does it require a permit to add a fireplace? Yeah, typically when you're dealing with gas lines and electrical, there should always be a permit. When we get involved, typically there's a permit if there's a remodel. If it's a remodel application, which sounds like, then yeah, typically there would be a permit.
And also with any venting, you're right, you'd have to pull a permit for gas, electrical, venting.
Yeah. The right way to do it is get a permit. I know there's a bunch of cowboys out here in Arizona, but the right way is getting a permit.
But if it was an outdoor wood burning, could you get away not even with a permit, or would it still?
So the question was, can you get away with doing an outdoor wood burning fireplace without a permit? I think outdoor is a little bit different. I'm trying to wonder what the official answer is since we're being recorded, but but outdoors is a little bit of a different animal. But then again, I'll default to we recommend getting a permit. Yeah,
Right.
and so we've seen some, why I hesitated, there's some, what do you call it, just the little fireplaces that are portable, you can get at Home
Oh,
Depot.
right, yeah.
So wood burning fireplaces, obviously for that.
Those
no,
like
but-
clay
Yeah.
chimeneas or
Yeah.
whatever there, yeah.
So yeah, where's the line? But yeah, we recommend
But
getting a permit.
anything we sell has to abide by, like Maricopa County doesn't allow any wood burning inside or out. So I think that probably answers your question. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Oh, we got one more.
Well, the one as you walk in is one of our fireplaces, and we have the modular setups on that counter as you go out. You can see how they're 25 parts and pieces put together, and you can actually take it apart. It's all, but the one built in you can't really tell because it's all bricked in and finished. But the one as you come through the door, the one straight there is our, I think that's a 72-inch. Right, but yeah, we do have one out front. No, well, inside, right as you come in, yeah.
Can we cue it back up?
Yeah, they're working on it.
Oh.
Oh. It was the one when I was speaking when we had the fireplace pull up. This one right here. This is their product. This is what was it? I believe a 60 or 72 inch.
72 inch, I believe. And normally it would light, but it does still. Oh no, there it goes. So it has the electronic ignition, which is great to have. No mess. Easy on, easy off.
Thank you.
All right, thank you again.
Thank you,
And I
guys.
guess
Thanks for coming out.
we're going to be mixing up some drinks and maybe soft drinks. So enjoy.